welcome back again to another episode of Big Red's Isopods. And this week we're finally going to take a look at what happened when I took my powder blues and kept them in a colder environment. Since this week it was relatively cold outside, I was able to do that. I kept them in the garage for a couple of days, so we're going to open them up together and take a look to see if it kind of fixed my Dwarf White problem. Anyway, let's go take a look. Alright guys, so this is where I've been keeping my isopods for the last couple of days. Just in front of my car in the garage here. So I also keep a bunch of bark here on hand just to kind of get it disinfected by just sitting in the heat during the summer and the cold now during the winter. Just to get rid of all the bugs. But we're going to take a look in here and we're going to see what it looks like. Alright guys, so we're back inside here, and as you can see, I got all 4 containers here. They're all frosted up still from the cold, and we're gonna go through them one at a time and take a look. So, obviously, the powder blues are gonna be alright because they're used to this type of weather. But what I wanna see is if the Dwarf White survived. And, to be honest, it looks like they're just doing fine. Now it didn't get down to freezing. It did get down really cold. But these guys are still active. They're not hibernating, so that makes me think that it wasn't too terribly cold. And there is frost along the outside. But as you can see, this water here, the water dewdrops, are still liquid form, so obviously it didn't get cold enough to freeze. And as we can see here in the soil, all the Dwarf Whites are still active and moving. So yeah, because these aren't Monkai, I can tell just by looking at them. The way they got their faces sticking up out of the soil like they're looking for something. Yeah, these are definitely not Monkai. These are definitely Dwarf Whites in here. So, obviously, this first container is still the same as it was before. Unfortunately, it did not get rid of the Dwarf Whites. So, I will be feeding those guys. But let's take a look at the other containers before we do any feeding. I just want to see what the status is. So obviously the powder blues are doing fine. They're native to Canada here, so they're going to be fine no matter what. Even if it went down to freezing, they have a special chemical in their body where it stops them from freezing solid. I can't remember exactly what it is, but all native insects to Canada have the same thing where I do believe it's some sort of sugar that is in their blood or in their system that stops them from freezing solid. So yeah, I can kind of see in this chunk of dirt here, there's more Dwarf Whites sticking their faces out of there. You can see right on top there, you can see his antenna. There's another one popping out the side over there. So again, in this container here, sorry, I'm just trying to focus here, guys. This container here is obviously still full of Dwarf Whites as well. So, I don't know, maybe it does have to go down to freezing almost for them to pass away. Because I'm positive that Dwarf Whites are a tropical species of isopod. So in this one here, I'm not seeing any Dwarf Whites this second. Oh, yeah, there's one on the bark there. Most likely that's not Monkai, because that right there, that's a baby, baby powder blue right there. I can tell just by the coloration on the back. Could be a Dwarf White, but that looks like a powder blue baby. Oh no, that's a Dwarf White. And there's Dwarf Whites all over in here. Look, there's even one on my finger there. Yeah. Dwarf Whites. Dwarf Whites, Dwarf Whites, Dwarf Whites. Again, yep. As soon as there's any sort of heat come back, they start sticking their faces out of the soil. So, Obviously, it's going to need to get a lot cooler than this. I'll have to try this again sometime when it gets closer to freezing outside. It did get down really low, so I know it was near freezing a couple nights. It was down to, I think, 2-3 degrees. And that's Celsius, so 0 would be freezing here. And again, I do believe this is the top bin. Yeah, this would have been the one on the top. So all the heat would have rose to this one. I think the bottom one would have probably been the first one to freeze. And as you can see, the Dwarf Whites still moving their antenna, sticking them up through the dirt. Again, the powder blue are unfazed by this. They're used to the cold climate. They live naturally in Canada, so they don't migrate. They don't go south for the winter. They just deal with it. But I am surprised that this did not kill the Dwarf Whites. I'm really shocked that I still have some in here. I really thought this was going to do it. So obviously we have to get it to a colder temperature, down to freezing, to possibly get rid of them. So I don't know. We'll have to wait for it to get colder outside, and I'll try this again. Obviously this didn't work, but we're still going to feed them. Not going to let them go without food. Next time I do it, maybe I'm going to watch to see if the water freezes on the side before I bring them back inside, but I will update you guys on what happens. If the Dwarf Whites continue to thrive after I put them in a freezing environment, where obviously this almost freezing environment did not do it for them to get rid of them. I really was hoping it would. Here, I'm just gonna go over here and get this carrot here for them. I was really hoping that they were all gonna be gone and that the powdered blues would be eating the Dwarf Whites, or their bodies, hopefully, because I'm really tired of them. They're really making the numbers of the powdered blues go down. These containers were thriving like one of my powder orange containers. Here, we'll take a look real quick just for an example here. Oh, where's one? There's got to be one over here somewhere that's out in the open. Outbacks. There's a powder orange right here. And just look at this. Hundreds of powder oranges. Hundreds of them in there. Now we go back to the powder blue containers, and we're gonna take a look here, and even underneath here, well, I guess there's quite a few under there. They are doing better than they were, but I have been keeping them in a cooler environment to kind of get the Dwarf Whites breeding down, their reproductive numbers down, because they become more dormant when it's colder, obviously. Same with how you see the powder blues underneath there becoming more dormant, but they're used to this, where they're not gonna freeze, where I do not believe the Dwarf Whites are used to this temperature. I could be wrong, maybe they are North American, but I'm almost positive that they are from a tropical environment. They kind of do the same thing as springtails, I do believe, in the southern hemisphere. Not to say that there's not springtails down there, but... Well, it's kind of sad. I was hoping I'd be done and over with, but I guess it's kind of a learning experience for me and for you guys watching this video, that if you ever have Dwarf Whites, that it's not going to kill them just by putting them in a cold environment that would be as cold as your fridge. You're going to need something colder. I thought that if I had put them in the fridge, which I don't have enough room in any of my fridges for any of these guys, I'd probably get in trouble if I ever did put any isopods in the fridge. If I ever got caught putting isopods in the fridge, I don't think I'd be liked for doing any of that. Yeah, as you can see, it's warming up already. They're starting to become more active. They're running around. But still super disappointing that the dwarf whites did not perish in this experiment here. Sorry, I'm just trying to cut this carrot up here for them. There we go. There's one piece there. Set another piece down over here. So yeah, obviously if you had put them in the fridge, like I've heard other people say that it would kill the dwarf whites, well obviously, unfortunately that did not work in this case. The dwarf whites are still flourishing. Maybe not, well I wouldn't say flourishing, but they're still alive, they're still active. Maybe if I had left them out there for a couple more days. Now unfortunately it's not going to stay this cold where I am right now. It's actually going to heat up for the next couple of days, back up to 21 degrees at the maximum, and a minimum I don't know what it's going to be at, probably close to 9-10 degrees, which is nowhere near what it has been the last couple of days. So that's not going to stop them from continuing to live. So I might as well bring them back inside for now. There's no point in forcing them to live out in the garage if it's not gonna stop them. Here, just give them the whole carrot there. I'm done feeding my bugs for today anyway, so that carrot wasn't going anywhere besides in another container. But give them a bunch of fish food too. Yeah, it's really sad about that, but we'll try it again. We'll try the experiment again and we'll see what happens, and I'll let you guys know. I was really hoping that they'd be gone and that I wouldn't have to deal with this problem anymore. But obviously, like I said before, the fridge temperature is not cold enough to get rid of the dwarf whites. They're still here. They're still hiding underneath pieces there. You can see their antennas sticking out from underneath that cuttle bone. You can see their antennas reaching out from the soil to grab the fish flakes. So there's one monkai of the dwarf whites crawling around. Super tiny and annoying because they will outcompete the monkai of the powder blues. So in conclusion, guys, I'm still pretty frustrated about the fact that the dwarf whites are still around, but what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna wait for colder weather. We're gonna try this experiment again, and I'll let you guys know what happens. Hopefully the dwarf whites are gone. For now, I'm gonna keep them in the colder room down here where I got them, to make sure that the dwarf whites aren't at their maximum breeding capabilities, kind of keep their breeding down to a low. The powder blues are going to do fine in that temperature. They're going to breed in that temperature just like they would in any other temperature. They're used to this kind of weather, or the colder temperatures, where it kind of slows down the dwarf whites, which is really really what I'm looking for here. I'm not going to keep them out in the garage because then they're just going to all go to sleep and it's not going to do anything. But when it gets colder out, kind of closer to freezing or below freezing, then we're going to give this another shot, and I'll let you guys know what happens. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you again next week. All right, bye.